Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 of the big show, ready to rock and roll. We got a basketball theme for our second hour with coaches named Tim. That's pretty good. Burke Strasser's going to join us about 10:35, who, of course, is the head coach of the Dragon Men. And it's always great to visit with our next guest. I don't believe I've had a chance to formally introduce him now, as now I can call him a state champion head coach. Tim Brandt joins us, the boys basketball head coach at Sheyenne. I've not formally done that. How's that sound now, a few months removed?
Sounds great. Yeah, sounds great. Let's keep doing that.
You got that? You can put that above your office door or something. Right? You could do that.
I just carry a sign around with me and get it put on all my sweatshirts.
So we were just joking off air. I know the opening weekend, it's so hard to not overreact. So I guess, how do you do that when you came to practice yesterday after, you lost the first 2 games?
Yeah, I mean, we had a good film session yesterday and pointed out some things, but for our group, that was a conversation that we had coming into the season, that it's going to be a process. This team looks a lot different than last year's team. And you don't really know what you're made of right away. We go out west and we play, 2 of the best teams in the state, and there was some wide eyes right away. And Bismarck kind of jumped on us early. I think once we settled in, I think we were fine. Similar story to mine out on Saturday night. I mean, those 2 teams are really good, but we wanted that. We wanted to test right away. We wanted to see first where we're at, and second, the level that we need to get to compete with those types of teams. So, the scores may not be a great indicator, but we took a lot of good things away from it.
Expectations won't be higher than what you have. How do you gauge that with such a new roster this season?
It's tough. Like I said, I mean, we have 1 guy back from our 8 rotation players from last year. So the door's pretty wide open for a lot of guys. Whether you're a senior, junior, sophomore, you gotta earn your spot. Mm-hmm. So like I said, it's going to take us a while, and that was the conversation. We have to be focused on our process rather than the outcomes of games. We're going to look a lot different in a month than we are right now. So, once these guys get some varsity experience under their belt, and get a little more comfortable with things, I like who we have.
As a head coach, how tough is it to be patient, though?
It's tough. I mean, it is, but like I said, we won our tournaments at every single level last year. We won our freshman tournament. We won our sophomore tournament. We won the state championship. So we have talented kids. It's just and I understand this. This was the thought coming in, that it's going to take us a while, and we're going to get better every single day.
I know I texted you about a month and a half ago asking who's going to be good, and that's it's almost like college basketball now, because you just close your eyes and throw a dart. Like, I have no idea. And is that similar for the EDC this year? I know there's some teams, and obviously Bart's team is pretty good. AP's got a team in West Fargo. What do you gather of what the EDC will look like this winter?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty wide open. I mean, obviously you mentioned Davies and it was with Claybo there, and I was looking at their roster the other day and finally saw that 12 by his name for his grade. So I was happy to see that he's finally reached that senior year, and he can play one more year and leave us all alone and go about his business in college. So he's tough to handle, but yeah, they're going to be good. Obviously, I think West Fargo is going to be good. I think there's a handful of teams that are capable. It's going to be similar to last year, where I think you can't mail anything in on any given night, because anybody can beat anybody, and I think that's a good thing for our league.
I want to ask you, because we've hammered this on football, but the ever-changing population size, especially out west, how has that affected what the EDC could look like? Because Horace is playing up with you guys already. How has that changed things for the EDC? Valley City's gone now for a couple of years. Have you guys got it now where this is pretty good? We like what we have.
I feel like we do. Last year being the first year of the 3-class system, I think it was awesome. I think it evened the playing field for a lot of teams. You're always going to have some teams that are don't compete as well, but that's no matter. It doesn't matter how you split things up. It's just going to happen like that every single year. But as far as competitiveness, I liked how things went last year, and yeah, I mean, I think it was great. I'm looking forward to it this year too.
Describe how life changes now as a state champion head coach. Tell me, either approaching things, like for yourself. But what was there anything that surprised you over the last few months that you guys won the championship?
To be honest with you, not a lot. I mean, after we won it, everything happened so fast that it's just like, the game's over. You're celebrating for, 20, 30 minutes on the floor. They shuffle you off. You go to the locker room, you get your stuff, you get on the bus, you drive back to Fargo, and then everybody kind of goes their separate ways. And then it's kind of like a, well, what now type of feeling. So it was quick. And but you realize some things, that's what you coach for. You wanna win that championship. But at the same time, looking back on it, it's really like, this is almost gonna sound pretty cliche, but it's the journey with those guys that is the most special thing. Had we not won that last year still would have been a great year. And and with this year's team, this is a whole new group. And as far as expectations go, I don't feel like we have those expectations this year because we look so different, and it's a different group of guys. So we're gonna have a different journey.
Now that you have one, Tim, does that change your own perspective though on how to, not necessarily how to coach, but how to approach a team now that you've experienced what the ultimate can feel like?
I don't know if it changes my approach. I would like to experience that again. I mean, if I'm being honest with you, like now that I have one, I want another one. Let's get as many as we can get. But like I said, it puts certain things into perspective to where it's such a fleeting moment where you accomplish that and then it's done. Yeah. And then, I mean, if that's the only thing that you're chasing throughout a coaching career, I feel like that can be sort of empty. So approaching things and just, approaching things more of a relationship side with kids, I feel like is the more rewarding side of it.
We had Tommy Oneman on the show a few weeks ago, about a month ago now, before he ended up signing with Notre Dame. I've not had a chance to talk with you. I know I've talked with you about it, but on air, just can you tell us your side of this, how it went down and what experiencing what now this is what happens, I imagine, in other major programs around the country and how you dealt with it.
Well, there were the rumors, obviously before I found out, it kind of, they got louder and louder. And Tommy and I ended up having a conversation about it, and, he was really honest with me, and, we had a good conversation, and I wasn't gonna get mad at the kid. Him and his family are doing what is best for him and their family. And, you can't be upset with somebody for trying to better themselves. And that was the conversation. And Tommy and I have a good relationship. I've texted back and forth with him since, and, wished him good luck on the season, and I'll be following him. And I wish him the best. And that's kind of, that was kind of how that conversation went. It was a good conversation. And so yeah, I hope he does well, and I wish him the best. I'm going to be following him. Is
there more of that with elite level players, Tim? Could you see that happening more, even in this state? Granted, I know the level of competition is pretty good, where a guy of his caliber maybe sees, if I can get to a Power 5, I may have to go somewhere else.
I mean, I hope not, to be honest with you, but yeah, it's definitely a possibility that could happen. I mean, with guys, playing AAU basketball at the state with different programs, and some of those coaches being linked to high school programs or being on high school staffs, I could see that happening a lot more, to where they have a little influence of trying to pull them to wherever they are. And to be honest with you, like I said, I hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's tough to be upset with kids if they, want to better themselves and get themselves to a higher level. Now you have to sift through the truth of what people
what's real,
you,
what's real and what's not, right?
Yeah. You got to be really careful with that, because there are some people out there that are looking out for their own interests rather than the kids' true interests, and that's a shame. But hopefully it doesn't happen, but it's definitely a possibility.
Because we've had this discussion, you and I have now, with Grant Nelson's resumes out there, Trace and Eagle staffs out there that are playing division, and I know they're playing Division I basketball, and they did it for all 4 years here. You have that to bank on as well, that, hey, we've got guys that have done this, and Grant's played in the national championship game last year.
Yeah, I mean, and it's getting it's getting more and more to where, obviously basketball in our state is good. I think it's in a really, really good
I
spot, but
agree.
it's getting more with the transfer portal and people transferring, in and out every single year. It's getting more of a sort of a common thing. If, I would like to see, not that those situations weren't good, but I would like to see maybe some people try to play through things if things aren't going their way. I understand why Grant did it. Going to a Power Five and putting himself in a position to play in the SEC and get recognized nationally. But I think it's getting a little too easy to, all right, I don't like what's happening here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut it and go somewhere else. Because you see, some people transfer every year and they play at 3 or 4 different schools. I just don't think that's a great thing.
No, and I don't think that's going anywhere, man. That's kind of where we're at. And basketball is way worse than football on that. I called a game, last year, 2 years ago. Guy was in his 5th year on his 5th separate school, and that's gonna get more common than ever.
It is, and I've always been of the opinion where, if you should be able to, if things are really not going well, you should be able to transfer. This NIL thing, I think college athletes should get some money. I really do, but I think there's a better way of going about it. Now, what that is, I don't know. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. But there's got to be a better way.
I appreciate your openness on chatting about that, because we haven't had a chance to talk with you on it, and I appreciate you doing that. As you look ahead to this upcoming year, give us the outlook for big school AA basketball. What do we got to be on the lookout for between now and March?
It's going to be a battle. It always is. I mean, we got a non-conference here this Saturday over at Fergus, and then we start conference play next Tuesday at West Fargo. And you know how West Fargo is, man. They get after you and they play hard. And Adam always has those kids ready for a fight. So we gotta bring it. And like I said earlier, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be balanced. Any team can beat anybody. So it's gonna be a fun year, and I think by March, I think we're gonna have some teams ready to compete.
All right, so now that Horace has a football championship, I got to ask this: when West Fargo comes to your place, is it like you going to Horace? Do you get that same kind of vibe, or is that not there yet?
I think so. To be honest with you, I think that rivalry has already kind of started. Because I mean, you see how it is. I mean, we start and it's West Fargo and us.
Yep.
We're huge rivals, and now we're kind of the little brother. Now I feel like that's kind of how people view Horace, and they're good.
They're good, yeah.
Yep. They got a good squad. So you look for them to have a solid year too. They got guys who can shoot it, and they're going to play fast, and so yeah, they're going to be a tough out as well.
Right.
So, but yeah, I think that rivalry is kind of already there.
All right, 2 last ones here. Going to put you on the spot. What's the most underrated gym to play in the state to you? Which one is underrated? Doesn't get enough attention.
The most underrated gym in the state. I'm going to be a little biased here. But I graduated from Minot High, and when I played there, we always played in the auditorium.
Yeah.
We didn't play at the high school. So to be honest with you, that environment there, I mean, we were there on a Saturday afternoon. So watching the film from Friday, they had a ton of students and there was a lot of people there. It wasn't as great on Saturday just because it's a Saturday afternoon game. That's how that goes. But I'm gonna say Minot High, when that place is full and it's loud, I think it's a really, really good environment.
All right, flip side, what's overrated? Which one is like, this one's not as great as everybody says it is?
Oh man,
come on!
I don't want to get myself in trouble here. Oof, boy. I'm gonna dodge that.
Let me rephrase. Toughest one to play in. Toughest like away venue to play in. Either you coached or you played in. Which one is the toughest one?
Bismarck High on Friday was
that's always a tough environment.
I mean, It was a Friday night. It was loud. Their student section was great. We were a little wide-eyed. So that one Friday night was a tough environment.
Wilhelm gets them going. They're all right. So
he does. They're flying around, man. They're ready to go.
It's great to see you, bud. Thanks so much for the time. I always appreciate visiting with you. Good luck this year. We'll check in down the road, okay?
I appreciate it, Dom. Thank you.
Good to see you, bud. There goes Tim Brandt joining us, Cheyenne boys basketball head coach, the reigning state champs. As the EDC season getting underway, the AA boys basketball year I appreciate his openness as well, because we talked about it that happened this summer with Tommy Oneman deciding to transfer. He's spending, as we know, his final season of high school ball at Cretin Durham Hall down in the Twin Cities, and or Totino, I think. Sorry, before he's moving on to he signed with Notre Dame. That happened in November, and it was pretty much the first of its kind in this last 10, 15 years of a player of that caliber, the reigning state MVP, helped him win the state championship, and then decided to move. We had Tommy on the show when he told us when he committed to Notre Dame this fall and gave us the backstory, and appreciate Tim doing that because it's unique to our area that went down. We're due for a break. We caught up with a few emails here. Reminder, Tim Bergstrasser going to join us here in about 20 minutes. Hot Mic rolls on this Tuesday morning. Back after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV, and Inform.com.